We are live. How about you, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of the Auburn Live Call-In Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Today is Sunday, April the 16th of the 23rd year of the third millennium. Now, that's fancy. That's
Sounds
fancy.
right.
I don't know that it's correct, but it's damn sure sounds fancy. Hey, I am joined, as I always am, by Mr. Cole Pinkston. Mr. Jhead is on baby duty tonight. He's probably listening in right now.
Been there, brother.
With some boo-boo on his hands or something. Maybe a little puke. But we will be – maybe he'll have a chance to call in and just kind of touch base with us. Hint, hint. Hey, we've got – Cole, we got a lot to talk about. Tonight's show, though, isn't about us. We will let the callers dictate our topics. I want everybody to start calling in right now, man. 701-779-9585. We're going to get to some calls. We're going to get to some comments. We're going to get to some questions. Before we do, one of the questions I need to answer real quick is who in the hell can I call because I need a new car? Well, I've got just the person for you, folks. Caleb Schofield, man, there at Mike Patton Auto in LaGrange, Georgia. Y'all might know him already. Might have heard of his name already. Mike Patton Auto. Caleb Schofield. Give him a call, 334-531-0996. He's got new Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Hondas. Huge, fantastic used car lot. We know this because we've used it ourselves. All those used cars have to pass a multi-point inspection before they even put them on the lot. And then once they sell them to you, they back those used cars with a free 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. The new cars, lifetime powertrain warranty, folks. Unlimited time, unlimited mileage. And if you're not in the market for a car, but know somebody who is, send them to Caleb. He'll send you $300. Pretty good deal.
It's a great deal.
I'd take that deal. Give him a call, 334-531-0996. As we said, Cole and I we'll be going at it ourselves tonight. We got Zach in the back. We can always bring to the front. Zach in the back is just as knowledgeable as anybody else, as we said. As we can now say, Keith has went home finally. He's been trying to get back to cover the Florida Gators where he graduated from. He finally got that opportunity and has joined the On3 Florida Gators site. Going to miss him, obviously. Going to miss his intel. Going to miss his insight. Fantastic work ethic. But we will try our best to continue on. Jhead, as we said, is on baby duty tonight. We'll try to check in with him later. Hope he's doing well. Condolences to Jhead tonight. Cole, yesterday, the transfer portal opened. Not a lot of news. Kind of boring, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was really boring. I expected maybe a couple more Auburn players.
Me too.
And look, there's still plenty of days here, and everybody's wrapping up their 8A games, and you got that going on. So expect some more. Maybe not from Auburn, but other places. Maybe at Auburn too. I don't think the second window, we don't really know how to gauge it yet. You know what I'm saying? So we're just kind of winging it like you guys are, and we're trying to see, who's hitting, where's the interest. We know of one guy so far, for sure, that Auburn is interested in, and that's Jhead Muskrat, the offensive lineman from Tulsa, another offensive lineman from Tulsa. So there's like 100 guys in there, maybe just a couple more than 100 total. When you think about it, if you're needing a bunch of positions and the way the portal can be, 100 is not a lot. I mean,
not at all. It was 85 last night.
Not a big pool. Now, look, we remember like a year ago when, man, we were like, okay, well, you only signed 17 in the high school class. Well, there's plenty of room for the portal. Well, it didn't quite go like you wanted it to. So this is why you've heard Hugh Freeze and Josh Aldridge and Ben Egamawa and the guys that we've talked to say, look, we do not want to rely on the portal. We are not trying to live that way. We can't build a roster that way. It's just not the right strategy. It's just where you're at right now, right? So, a second window is a little underwhelming right now.
Second one. The only Auburn news we're going to get. You got a caller on the line, Zach?
They just hung up. So
oh my gosh,
keep it rolling.
Did you save that number? I'm gonna call them tonight.
I know the last four, so if they call back in, I got them.
Okay, there's only 999 combinations to go to find out who that was. The only Auburn news that we know of yesterday, the first day of the transfer portal spring window opening, was Auburn offering Jhead Muskrat, the offensive. Cole, I'm with you, big dog. Cole wrote on. He played offensive tackle at Tulsa. I'm with you, Cole. Inside guy. The only other Auburn news was that Tavares Dawson. He's the only one that left. Of course, Jeffrey Embos declared that he was going to, and there's three. There was Jeffrey Emba,
Desmond Tisdale.
Desmond Tisdale.
And Cameron Brown was gone already.
Who's that?
Cameron Brown, Derek Brown's little brother.
Yeah, right.
UT Chattanooga. So
Yep.
Zach, do they call back?
Yeah, we got 2 callers now.
Okay.
7476. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Eric. I'm calling from Worcester, Massachusetts. Colin, question was, what's it going to take for a top 5 recruiting class? Like, what's it going to take? Let's say they're this year's LSU. Does that guarantee you think them at least, I don't know, a top 7 lucky class? Especially with all the defensive line opportunity and all that. I mean, I know all programs can sell that, but I mean, at Auburn, they can really sell a lot more on the big stage in the SEC. It just makes too much sense to have a mega class. That's sorry to take up the time, but yeah, just curious what you think about that.
Eric, that's a fantastic question, big dog. Calling from up near Boston, with Massachusetts.
Worcester, yep. I'm an asshole, yep.
He's saying he's an asshole?
He's a masshole.
Oh. It's a fantastic question. So, Cole, what does Auburn have to do to get a top 5 class? And
well, I mean, you gotta have a product on the field first. We know that. Everybody hates hearing that. I don't like to say it, but I mean, it's the situation Auburn's in again, where you're having to prove something. Now, the good news is you look around and they got all these guys visiting, not just guys, they got top targets coming in all the time, right? From all over the place. And in the state of Alabama, they're in on all those guys that are, top tier guys in state. Georgia. I mean, we've named these guys repeatedly. So that's good. They're in it before you've even given a product on the field. And you didn't get to show anything at A-Day either. So where other schools are having these big A-Days and with beautiful weather, Auburn didn't get to show anything there, but had a huge recruiting day. So, it's you look at a place like Ole Miss, and Lane Kiffin's real serious about going to the portal, and that's his thing. That's his baby, right? I'm going to go into the portal. We're going to build a team out of the portal. Well, he's never going to have a top 5 recruiting class in high school. It's not going to happen. And history shows that those classes are the ones that are taking teams to the top. We know that Auburn's got their priorities in the right place with Hugh Freeze in charge, and they're going to have a chance to get in the top 10 and eventually keep climbing as the years go on if they keep doing what they're doing. But they got to have success in the field too. That's number one, man. It's always going to be number one.
Cole, you made a fantastic point, dude. You look at Georgia, you look at Alabama. Dude, they don't give a damn about the portal. They cherry pick from the portal if they need a guy, right? They're not building their roster. They're not filling in holes. They're building it from freaking high school ranks up. But I'll get a little bit more specific with Eric. We talk about this on the shows all the time, not just this one, but the recruiting show. But we talk about statement wins in recruiting. Those are the wins you're going to have a top 5 class. I'm talking about beating out Alabama. I'm talking about beating out Georgia. Right now, Auburn has 5 commitments, and only one, in my opinion, is a statement win. That was Walker White. Anytime you beat Clemson for a quarterback, that's a statement.
Yep.
That's like beating Georgia for a defensive lineman, beating Alabama for an offensive lineman. That's a big deal. Walker White, Jade, not to say these other guys, Jaden Lewis, Amon Lane, Jamarian Burnett, not saying those guys aren't going to be good. Is that 4? Oh, and Montavious Collins, who just committed this past week. Not a statement win, in my opinion. Decommitted from Alabama. Not sure how, I think if Alabama wanted him, he would have never decommitted. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs, but I don't consider him a statement win. I think if you're going to win, you're going to have to beat Alabama. You're going to have to beat Georgia. You're going to have to beat Ohio State for these guys in the South. That's what's going to take. Now, and that's kind of like the horse before the cart. Are you going to win those battles before you got to have that product on the field, right? You got to sell that vision.
I mean, that's the product on the field. That's the part that can get you in top 5, right? I think top 12. We've talked about this. I think top 12 is realistic for this year, even though you haven't gotten to show what you're about yet, and you will get that chance before it's over with. You will get that chance. I mean, you look at when Hugh Freeze joined Auburn, right, or when he arrived at Auburn, guys like Keldrick Falk, Connor Liu, Kayan Lee, those guys were not in. They were not in Auburn's class. In fact, I had people going, "Oh, why are you going to interview Keldrick Falk so much, man? He's locked into Florida State." Well, it completely changed when a new coaching staff came in, and not just a new coaching staff. Hugh Freeze, I give him credit. I mean, he was the one calling him all the time. Jeremy Garrett. It's the staff as a whole that came in and changed that recruitment around, and they did it fast, right? So I got some. I have pretty high expectations for them going forward because of that late change. And I mean, just everything I've seen so far, it seems like they're doing it the right way, and they'll have some good success because of it. But when you add that product on the field, even though it may take a year or two to get it rolling, that's when you start seeing top 5 potential.
Got to get guys like Perry Thompson. I got to get guys like Cam Coleman. Got to get guys like Sterling Dixon, DeMarcus Riddick, Jeremiah Beeman, Kevin Riley. There's a lot of other guys, but those are the guys that are going to get you up there fighting with the Auburn. I mean, the Georgias and the Alabama. Great question, Masshole. Keep us going there, Zach.
9655. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Phone calling from Trussville, Alabama.
Hey, all right.
That's my how about you from last week.
There you go.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Appreciate you guys taking time and then doing this every week. I don't get to listen every week, but I do when it feels like there's news to come. And like you said, there's not been a lot of news this week, but maybe there's some coming. And that's kind of the focus of my question to you guys this week. I don't follow transfer portal stuff all that closely. I know there's folks on the forum all the time talking about how that second window is just not really you're getting the guys that are falling down the depth chart after spring. But in your mind, can you think of a guy that came on a team became a big contributor that was a second window guy in the last couple of years? Because I feel like that's what Auburn's going to need to get over the hump to possibly, get to, at least be relevant in the West for the
especially quarterback, right, Phone?
Is there, any chance that there's somebody in the past we've seen that maybe not? I'm not talking about at Auburn, just anywhere.
Jhead would be all over this. Zach, you got anything?
Joe Burrow.
Oh,
yeah, I think
Nick Marshall at Auburn.
We haven't really had the windows like this. I mean, it was more like guys that waited a little bit longer at the time. And of course, we don't have a huge sample size either yet because this is all new. But I think Joe Burrow was a late guy.
Yeah, Nick Marshall was a late guy too. He didn't get there till the summer. That worked out pretty well. Cam was there for the spring, wasn't he?
Burrow transferred in May.
Yeah, he was. No, he played the spring game.
Yeah, that's right. He did.
Yeah, they were still battling. I think him and Cody were still battling. Barrett Trotter, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good question.
A lot of pretty bad tape about Cam in the spring game from that year.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Phone.
That is a good question, though, man. I'd have to research that a little bit. I know I'm looking at the portal right now, and there's a couple names out there that are really good. I mean, it's a small handful of guys that could probably be key contributors if they go. I mean, Bear Alexander from Georgia, that guy's.
What's up with that?
That's a big one, right?
Out of nowhere.
The kid from Wyoming, he's gotten every offer in the world, and
Except Auburn.
I think his PFF and like his NFL draft stock was rising already before he hit the portal. So that's a guy that people want, right? So there's a few, and like I said, there's going to be more. I really think there's going to be another quarterback that hits.
Oh, for sure.
That Auburn might have some serious interest in. Again, is this going to be a quarterback that's going to be, just completely raise the level of the team? I just don't know yet. I can't answer that question. You'd have to think, though, if they went as far as to say Spencer Sanders, but they would take a guy in the second window, you have to think that it would be an upgrade over what you have currently, whether that be a huge upgrade or a small upgrade, an upgrade nonetheless.
That was a great question, Phone. Do some research on that. Have to figure that out. That's a great question. But Burrow was one. Nick Marshall.
Was another. I think someone put in the chat Jalen Hurts was a spring transfer too. Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was to Oklahoma. Yeah.
Oh, to Oklahoma.
Yes, to Oklahoma.
Did he sign with Bama out of high school?
Yes.
Okay.
From Texas.
Yeah, because he took over the starting job during what was that, the USC game to start the season. He took over from the
Blake Barnett.
I remember the kid's name.
Blake Barnett.
Yes. He took over like midway through the first half or something like that.
I believe you're right. And then he played the rest of the year. Yeah.
Zach, do we have anybody else on the phone?
Oh, yeah, we got like 6 callers.
Okay, we'll keep it going then. My bad. Good stuff, Phone. We appreciate you, big dog.
3122. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Okay, we'll keep it going then. My bad. Good stuff, Phone. We appreciate you, big dog.
3122.
Hey, this is Gracie from Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama. I just wanted to ask, do we get those 2 offensive linemen from the portal to the head, the one from Oklahoma State and the one from Tulsa? Do we get our quarterback in these coming weeks or next week? And what's it looking like in the transfer portal and basketball?
Oh, good stuff, Gracie. The 2 linemen I'm thinking of, Cole, is the cat from Wyoming and the dude from Tulsa, Muskrat from Tulsa, and Renendrum from Wyoming.
Yeah, Pregnon.
Pregnon or something like that. Those 2, I believe is who she's talking to. I don't know of an Oklahoma State lineman.
Etienne is his last name. I know that.
Oh.
He was the starting left tackle at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you're right.
I can't think of his first name, but well, Gracie, the thing about those guys is, especially with the Wyoming guy and the guy from Oklahoma State, we don't know what Auburn's interest is in those guys. We know for sure that they are interested in Muskrat from Tulsa. We have no doubt. The other 2, we think they're kind of interested, but we're not sure yet. Do they get Muskrat and go, all right, we're good. We're good for now. Maybe they do. Not sure. That's something we're tracking. We're trying to figure out, man. And that's why we expected maybe a few more guys to leave Auburn, because we know they won a couple roster spots. And, it's just such a wait and see thing right now, unfortunately, with the second window. And we're learning it. And I think that Auburn's got a great chance to get the guy from Tulsa personally, Jhead Muskrat. I think they're going to have a great chance. You saw Dylan Wade retweet it, say War Eagle to him, which is his former teammate over there. The quarterback question, it's tough. Again, I'll say I still think a guy's going to hit the portal that Auburn maybe already did their research on and said, hey, if this guy hits, big-time player, we like him, we would definitely take him. So I'm expecting some more of that. And, you're still finishing up 8A games too. I mean, not 8A games, spring games. You're still finishing up spring games. So there's more to come.
I completely agree. Jhead Muskrat from Tulsa, Caleb Etienne from Oklahoma State, and Emmanuel Pregnon from Wyoming. Those are the 3 I've actually got eyes on when it comes to offensive linemen in the portal. Obviously, Auburn has only offered Muskrat. Quarterback, I'm with you, Cole. If Auburn doesn't know what's going to do, what their quarterback situation is going to be in a couple of weeks, they're behind the 8 ball. I fully believe that Auburn has been doing a lot of research probably since December, and they have eyes on a few of these guys. And I think it will happen quickly. I think somebody will enter the portal. I think they'll visit, and I think it'll be over.
Oh, yeah.
At least I hope so.
It's going to be so quick.
Gracie, as far as basketball goes, couple Ben Middlebrooks, the big man from Clemson, was in Auburn today for a half-a-day visit. He's going to choose between Auburn and NC State. Another guy, Matthew Cleveland, will be visiting soon. He hasn't set a date. Devin Cambridge is coming in sometime this week. Chaney Johnson, man. Zach, did you see this last night? Are you a UAH guy? Alabama Huntsville? Okay.
I think they're like D2 or
Go South.
Yeah.
Go South Conference Player of the Year. He's from Thompson. Stud. He's a 3.4 if I'm not mistaken, and he can shoot the lights out. Really good player with a couple of years of eligibility left. Auburn is certainly interested in him. He's going to be a guy to track moving forward. But those are kind of Cario Aquendo from Georgia, another guy to keep an eye on, as well as I think that's it. Those are your couple of wing guys, your big guy. Auburn's looking to add about 3 more. So we're doing our best, man, to track all that at Auburn Live on 3. If you're not a member, get signed up. All right, hey, good stuff, Gracie. We appreciate your call.
5810. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Fellas, Anthony from Montgomery.
Anthony, what's up, buddy? Where you been hiding?
In the background, just listening.
I hear you.
Hey, quick question. With Auburn, knowing that we need a quarterback, in you guys' opinion, why do you not think guys are lining up to come to Auburn when you have a chance to almost guarantee to be a starting quarterback in the SEC and play top of the line football? Don't you think guys should be lining up? Auburn a top 15 program. Why you think guys not chopping at the bit to start in the SEC for SEC school?
I think that's a fantastic question, Anthony. And not only that, but to play for Hugh Freeze. You've got an open door at Auburn right now for a starting quarterback to play at Auburn. Like he said, historically top 15 program, to play for one of the better offensive minds in the game, one of the better quarterback gurus, if you will, in college football. Why are people not lining up? Well, if Grayson McCall had his grades in line, this wouldn't be an issue right now. Right? Grayson McCall would have been the starter coming out this past week. He would have been the A-Day MVP, and we would be talking about who's going to be leaving Auburn because Grayson McCall. That didn't happen. He has you can't just up and leave school and transfer into another school after taking pottery classes for 3 years. So he had some work to do academically. Still waiting to see. I was told there was no chance, but you know how that goes. But who was the other one from NC State who went to Kentucky?
Devin Leary.
Devin Leary was another one they brought in for a visit. Missed out on him. And I don't know. That's a great question, Anthony. How does Devin Leary choose Kentucky over Auburn and Hugh Freeze?
Well,
NIL.
I don't think so. Auburn's got the NIL.
OC? Didn't he have?
There was a personal. I guarantee Jhead, you need to call in and tell us about this.
yeah,
Jhead would know this. This is the shit he would know.
this is when we need Jhead.
There was, his high school coach went to high school. Went to high school with the guy's mom, and the girlfriend now lives over there on South Street. Yeah, and that's how Devin Leary ended up at Kentucky. Guarantee you. But
I
yeah,
can understand why you pick Kentucky though, because you have, you're looking at Will Levis probably gonna go top 5, and I can understand that part. As far as in that offense that they say it's a more for NFL friendly offense, I can understand why Leary would hit Kentucky.
Right. Well, I tell you what, this is what we know. This is what Jeffrey and I know, and Keith when he was here. We know that Spencer Sanders had some interest in Auburn, and we know that Auburn didn't reciprocate it exactly. So what does that mean? That means he might be selective. I know for one thing, he wanted to see these guys compete during the spring and then go, all right, let's reevaluate here. I think he wanted to give his guys a chance. I mean, he saw some really good things from Robbie, like Hugh Freeze just pointed out that throw that Robbie made against Alabama in the Iron Bowl over the shoulder to Javarius Johnson, I believe it was. So we know that he wanted to evaluate that, and he wasn't just going to settle on a guy like Spencer Sanders, who he just wasn't gung-ho about, who threw 40 interceptions in his career. That's not exaggerated. He had 40 interceptions. That's wild when you think about that. But what I'm trying to say is maybe there are some quarterbacks that showed interest, and Auburn was like, we're going to see if the guy we really want shows up. And I don't know that for sure. I'm just spitballing here on that. I don't think that no quarterback out there would say, I'm not interested in Auburn. I think there's a few. I just think they want to make sure they get the right guy because he's ready to win now, man. He's ready to win now. He's not waiting.
I will say this, Anthony. Okay, to me, when it comes to that quarterback, who was it? Spencer Sanders. I think he was like, either I've got somebody better, or I can get somebody better. Otherwise, you take the kid. And I think he was dealing with an injury, but I don't think that was a big deal. He was recovering from an injury. Obviously, it wasn't a big deal. He just went through spring. But I will say this: Chance Nolan. I always forget to mention this. Auburn has reached out to a transfer quarterback, Chance Nolan from Oregon State. And he has a lot of interest. I mean, I've been talking with him, and he would crawl to Auburn to play for Hugh Freeze at Auburn, no doubt.
And there's probably a reason, Jeffrey, that he's not already in the class, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to say without
saying it,
without saying too much. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, good stuff, Anthony. I hope next week at this time we know a lot more, and the spring games will be over with. I think by the end of this week, we should have a couple of targets that we're tracking at quarterback. But good stuff. We appreciate you, Anthony Montgomery. Keep us going, Big Zach.
4092. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, War Eagle guys. It's Jhead from Mobile.
Oh, Jhead. Jhead 88.
That's me.
Hey, there he is.
So with the portal, just obvious, off the top thought was I was thinking we were going to maybe go ahead and try to secure a quarterback as fast as possible, maybe try to leverage that into picking up a quality wide receiver or another position. And I guess that's what I was going with. But on the flip side of that, they could maybe wait and see what all, who all enters the portal as far as the QB goes. And maybe if they wait a little bit, get a little bit more quality out of the transfer if they waited. But do y'all see them more so putting the emphasis on go ahead and getting the guy on the boat and then trying to, use that to maybe bring in another wide receiver, or kind of take the time and feel out the portal and go whenever, they feel comfortable with somebody later on? But I was just going to get y'all's guys' thoughts.
That's good stuff, Jedi. In my opinion, they get this wrapped up as soon as possible. And when you say, are they waiting to see who else goes in the portal? And Cole mentioned this, and I backed him up on this, dude. If they don't know what quarterbacks are going in the portal,
oh yeah,
it's too late, man. Listen, you may not know what receivers or what tight ends or defensive linemen are going to go in the portal. Most of the time you do, but when it comes to quarterbacks, dude, they're so valuable at this point and at this time of year that if you don't know Zach McKinnell's going in the portal after spring, and his coach hasn't contacted you, his high school coach hasn't contacted you and said, "Hey, what are y'all interested?" He might hit. If that's not going on, dude, you're behind. And there's no way, with the importance that Hugh Freeze is putting on this, that Auburn doesn't know who's going in the portal and who they're going to get. I truly believe that.
Oh, yeah.
I truly believe Auburn has maybe 2 or 3 guys that they know they're going to get 1 or 2 of, if they don't already have it locked up. And I'm just that's just me. Nobody has told me that. You almost kind of want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because if you're sitting here going, "Hey man, nobody's in yet, man. Nobody's in yet," oh, here's one. You want to look at him. If you're doing that, dude, that ain't happening. You know who's going in, and you know if you're going to get him or not. And that kind of goes back to the Spencer Sanders thing to me. It's like, hey, Freeze, hold off on that Spencer Sanders, man. I got somebody coming out in April. Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Good stuff, Jedi. Fantastic.
2176. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
How you guys doing? How you doing?
What's going on?
This is Chris from Calera.
What's up, Chris?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well, man.
You heard about what Sarkisian said in an interview about transfers, and I want to get y'all's opinion about it.
What are you laughing at, Zach?
He went scorched earth on transfer portal on the pivot.
Yeah, get us up to date on that.
when he said if you do leave, you can't come back. And I was like, isn't that kind of bad when everybody knows Barry Alexander is going to go to Texas? So you got to basically process somebody out of Texas. Suppose that person don't want to leave, but you kicking them out. But then if somebody leaves on their own accord, they can't come back.
Give me for instance, like if Jeffrey Emba puts his name in the portal, if Steve Sarkisian is his head coach, and Emba goes out there and goes, you know what, I want to stay. I'm all for the coach saying, hell no.
Right.
I mean, if I'm dating you,
that same goes for assistant coaches that go for interviews too. That leave this program, they can't come back. That means they go for interview, they can't come back.
A what?
I get what he's saying.
Yeah, he's saying, is it a double standard? Because if the player
for sure
that's his option, you don't let him back. But like, let's say his offensive coordinator interviewed for a head coaching job, didn't get it. Would he say, "Oh, since you went out and interviewed, you can't come back"?
Oh, I completely listen. I've made that argument plenty of times. I'm on the players' side when it comes to that. Coaches jump around all the time.
Yeah, that's why I was just trying to get y'all's opinion about it because I think that's a double standard, and that's
absolutely.
Not right. And then also too, have y'all heard about Michael Penix Jr. who might be going in the portal too from Washington? And I'll hang up and listen.
Oh, hadn't heard that, man. If he did, man, that'd be a serious one.
Zach, you're saying no, it's not happening?
They literally let Sam Heward, a 5-star legacy quarterback, walk out the door because of Penix staying.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it would be.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Listen, that would be. I don't care about the Bear kid from Georgia. That would be the most shocking transfer you could possibly have. I mean, you got an incumbent starting quarterback who led the country in passing yards. I just can't see him dipping out after spring. Because if you're going to transfer, if you're Michael Penix, man, there were plenty of people who would have given you NIL or whatever you needed right after the season. There'd be no reason to wait till after spring practice for that, in my opinion.
Chris, but going back to the double standard, I completely agree, dude. I always have. These coaches are bouncing around for more money. Why can't the players?
You know what? I think the late Mike Leach was the one that said this. He was like, yeah, transfer portal's fine as long as we get to cut the guys we don't want because it's a business now. And you have now made it a business, whereas before it was a business, but not publicly like you're about
not
to.
On the surface.
So if you're about to open it up where the guys that I want to stay could possibly leave and leave me in a bad spot, well, then you better let me cut my roster down so I can get the guys I want in. I think that was the point Mike Leach made. Hey, you want it to be a business? Let's make it a business.
I would love to hear Jhead's take on this, but at some point in the near future, there's got to be contracts, right? Yeah. There's going to have to be buyouts. There's going to have to be
because there's a rule right now that your NIL can't be based off performance legally. I mean, it's based off performance.
Right, of course it is.
Technically, it can't be, but at the end of the day, no one gets paid for doing a job they don't do well. So if you're paying a kid $400K to go out there and play, and he's horrible, at the end of the day, man, I don't see why you have to pay that guy. And you're just like, man, we got to go our separate ways because we're paying you for a service we're not getting.
Yeah, you lost 10 followers, so we're going to cut that.
You want it to be like the NFL? That's like the NFL right there.
It's going to have to be, right? You're going to have to sign a 2-year deal with Auburn.
And I'm talking
come and play.
The players that wanted that change, right? Well, then you better get ready. So because if you don't perform, that can happen.
Cole Pinkston is going to sign with Auburn. He's going to sign a 2-year deal out of high school for $500,000 a year. And if after 1 year he's not happy and wants to leave, he's going to have to pay a buyout to transfer. Just like a coach, right?
Right.
Coaches are on 1-year deals most of the time. 3-year deals for 2-year, 3-year deals for coordinators. Am I wrong on that, Cole?
Mm-mm.
Multi-year deal for coordinators, assistants, year to year. And I think it's going to trickle down to the players. There's no way around it. There's no way around it, right? I mean, we can't continue this.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Good stuff, Chris. Good stuff.
0194. You're live. Who we talking to? Where you calling from?
Good stuff.
Hey guys. Hey, this is Ford Stokes. I'm out of Atlanta.
Ford?
And I was just yep. And I was Keith's a friend and actually did a couple of recruiting events for me for Auburn. Awesome guy. Wish him all the best in Florida.
Yes.
His quarterback. Yeah, I've heard just like you that Grayson McCall, it's an uphill battle, but he's still trying to get it done. Any thoughts on the Tulane quarterback, the Oregon State quarterback? And yeah, the portal is really underwhelming, but don't you think it's going to change a whole lot in the next week?
Hell yes.
Oh yeah.
Ford, good stuff, because this is okay. We talked about Chance Nolan, Oregon State. Auburn has reached out, has interviewed him. According to him, next thing is, will they bring him in for a visit? Will they offer him? Is he a depth piece? Is he a potential starter? Michael Pratt, I'll give you some insight on Michael Pratt. I was told by a very close friend of Michael Pratt, there is zero chance he's going to transfer. He has recruited all his friends and former teammates to Tulane with him. There's no way he's going to get them all there and then bolt on them. And this is coming from a personal close friend of Michael Pratt. Like, he knows him. I talked to him. This is not happening. Now, again, we know how this shit works, man.
Yeah.
But that's the information I have, Ford, is that a close friend of his says no chance. No chance. Chance Nolan was the other one. Who was the third one? Maybe that's all he said. The Oregon State, Michael Pratt.
Yeah.
I thought there was one more. I can't remember what he said, though. I've never understood the hype around established quarterbacks, though, especially coming out of spring. That's why I've never understood, like, the rumors about Pratt leaving Tulane. Man, if you're going to go chase the quote-unquote bag, you do it after the season. I can't see it. Like, if you have a starting spot established and you're the guy, why would they – those aren't the guys entering the transfer portal. So I think people got to stop hooking their hopes to a guy who is already established. Like, you're not getting a guy who's a starting quarterback somewhere else right now. You're probably going to get the guy who didn't win the QB battle right now.
And what does Pratt, what's his motivation? Oh, Auburn and the SEC. Dude, he's trying to get to the NFL. All right. Staying at Tulane is not going to affect. MJ Morris was the other quarterback. And I think Jhead threw me a bone one time and said, that's not happening. We're not expecting that. I'm not keeping an eye on MJ Morris anymore. But what were we talking about?
Established quarterbacks transferring.
Yeah, well, Michael Pratt's got it made. He could only hurt his draft status by coming to Auburn. He's a first rounder, right?
And you have that going on. You got his draft status that you think he would not want to mess with at all. He's already in that system. They had a really good season last year at Tulane because of him and other good players they had. But also think about it this way, with NIL and the way that's going, a school like Tulane knows they're not going to get the big dogs. They know they can't go and get a 5-star recruit, right? Well, their 5-star recruit is Michael Pratt. So their NIL money is going to go to him.
And they got money at Tulane.
That's where they
got money. They got a lot more money than Auburn's got. I promise you that. I don't know that they're willing to spend it, but they got a lot more money than Auburn does.
I talked to a parent of a guy who entered the portal and decided to come back to his own school. And the pitch from the previous school and this kid's parents was, if you're already the guy at your position, you fought your whole life to get to this position, your draft stock set, your career set, you got one more year. Why are you going to roll the dice, put everything on red for one last season? Because coaches lie, schemes change, and a lot of these guys aren't transferring to better situations, and they're tanking their draft stock, they're taking their playing time, and their senior seasons or graduate seasons are ruined because they're trying to go be the guy somewhere else and take someone else's spot. If you're the guy, there's no benefit to transferring with 1 year left of eligibility.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Agreed.
Well said, Zach. Good stuff, Ford. We appreciate you, man.
9985, you're live. Where are you calling from? Who we talking to?
Hey, this is JR from Coleman.
What's up, JR?
Hey, Jay Lee gave me a how about you earlier in the week, so I figured I'd call in and give give him one back at him.
Oh, how about you, Coleman County?
Nice.
Coleman City, right?
Yes,
Coleman
sir.
in Coleman County.
Yeah, it's Coleman City right now, but got a couple questions. First one's Martavius Collins. If I remember correctly, he was a 4-star when he was committed to Bama, and then decommits, and now he's a 3-star when he's committed to Auburn. So
Sure.
just y'all's thoughts on how or I'm kind of just curious, I guess, on how you drop a star in the off season. I don't know if it's from maybe not going to camps or just the typical Bama bias, is it so to speak. But second question is Sterling Dixon. I was reading, I think Cole had an article on it on the interview with him earlier in the week, and I was fairly optimistic about it, and then read the article and kind of felt like I'm pumping the brakes on him a little bit. That's going to be a battle with Alabama. Obviously, just y'all's thoughts on where Auburn stands with him.
All right. I will touch on that. Collins and Cole, you can have Dixon because you are our Sterling Dixon guru. JR, I was wondering the same thing just last week. Like, he committed to Bama. Now, listen, if it were just on 3, or if it was just rivals, or if it was just 24/7 that dropped the kid, red flag, no doubt about it. But I think everybody, his ranking has gone down. And it could have been that the early ranking, everybody looked and was like, we got him too high. We got him too high. And he has gradually dropped. And I know how it looks because I looked at the same thing. How do you go? He hasn't played it down in the past 3 months. How do you go from a top 150, I'm sorry, or maybe it was 200, to out of the top 300 without playing a snap? And again, if it had just been on 3, or if it had just been rivals, or it had just been 24/7, or ESPN, I think was in there too, the red flag would be even more red. But everybody was like, we might have had him too high. Let's bring him down. And to be honest with you, Cole, are you going to fight? Is that a hill you're willing to die on? The Martavius Collins is not a 4-star?
No, I mean, if I were ranking him, he'd probably be a high 3-star where he's at. Because the trend with tight ends these days, if you go and look at the NFL, it's the big, fast, athletic guy who's just a jumbo receiver, right?
Right.
Martavius is more of your traditional tight end, put a hand on the ground, sort of an extra blocker on the line of scrimmage, but also can play H-back. Fits Hugh Freeze's offense really well. That's what's more important to me than his ranking. But, I think there's a couple things. Number one, the guys that do the rankings, and they know what they're doing. They absolutely do. They have really good track records of putting stars on a guy, and that guy ended up being good. Okay, who's had more success putting tight ends in the NFL? Alabama or Auburn? Alabama. They have. Okay, so when a tight end goes to Alabama, there's a good chance they might go to the next level. Auburn hadn't had the same track record, and a lot of the star rankings are based on NFL projections. That's just how it is. Whether we like it or not, that's how it is. That's why there's 32 5-stars, because it's supposed to project the first round of the NFL. So that's why. But look, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Martavius Collins' ranking. He's still a high 3-star, and that means you're a good player.
Damn good player.
If you fit what you're doing. And, I like Martavius Collins. I think he's a good player. I think he's a lot bigger than I expected in person. Dude's huge.
Yeah.
And he's athletic. I mean, he's listed as an athlete by some sites because he plays a lot of different things, and that should tell you he's a good player right there. But anyway,
Sterling Dixon.
So I can understand why you read the article and went, I don't know. Well, I talked to him personally. I've talked to several people involved with him. I've figured out, how Auburn feels about him. And without saying too much, Auburn's got a shot. Auburn's got a shot with Sterling Dixon before it's over with. And one of the reasons is because they were one of the first schools that said, hey, look, I think you got enough speed to play inside linebacker. And he liked that. That was a big compliment to him, where he was being looked at as an edge because they thought he was going to grow and be a bigger guy. But Auburn said, look, you I think you got plenty of speed to play inside linebacker here. Josh Aldridge is huge here. Hugh Freeze is huge on that one. And I think it wasn't until this, maybe one of those March visits he took, and Hugh Freeze really sat him down and said, look, you're one of my top guys. You're one of my top guys. I want to make that clear to you. And ever since then, Sterling Dixon, and you've seen this, Jeffrey, when we talk to him, he's just got that grin on his face about Auburn, right? So there's some good things happening there with Sterling Dixon, and he's committed to Alabama, and he's a guy that respects his commitment, and he honors that commitment. So, he's going to stay committed right now, but he cannot help but hear out Auburn. That's kind of the point I've been trying to make on our board on the corner there. So make sure you're following those updates, and that's the best way I can put it to you right now. And we've talked about this before, Jeffrey. If a guy's committed to Alabama and Auburn's recruiting him, sometimes when it gets a little quiet, that's probably best.
It's not a bad thing.
You probably would prefer that if you're Auburn.
Yeah.
Right?
Tyler Justice. Been some message board banter on Malik Murphy, who is the quarterback at Texas. Is that someone who could potentially hit the portal?
I can tell you why. Because he's a good quarterback, number one, and two, they have Quinn Ewers, who, if you haven't watched him, that dude's incredible. And behind him, probably going to be Arch Manning.
Yeah.
And Malik Murphy, there's nothing wrong with that guy. He's a very good quarterback. And at any other place, I mean, this is almost your Joe Burrow situation where the quarterbacks ahead of him are so good. Like, it almost makes sense. Like, dude, you need to try something else. And it's no knock against you. You could compete against those guys. It's probably a safer bet to go somewhere else, right? Just with all the hype around Arch Manning. So that's where that's coming from. I mean, I haven't heard anything about him hitting the portal, but it would make sense, right?
You're muted.
Muted, Jeffrey.
I always sound better muted. That's what Jessica tells me. But
yeah.
Keith, this is who he was telling us. These are the type guys that will hit the portal, right? And even Zach just said this.
Yep.
Guys who are losing out on jobs. You're not going to take the starter. You're not going to take Quinn Ewers from Texas. With Quinn Ewers types. But the guy who's behind him, and they're going from Quinn to Arch. I mean, it'd be a freaking PR disaster for Arch Manning to be sitting on the bench for the next 3 years.
Yep.
So he would be, Tyler, that way Keith would say this is the algorithm that he follows. The really, really good quarterback who lost the quarterback battle.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good strategy.
Are we free? Are we phone free?
Phone lines are good. We got about 15, 20 questions.
All right, let's hit them.
Yeah.
All right, let me man, I gotta get my glasses now. I can't even see the computer screen. I gotta enlarge it. Oh, James Lawler. Man, who was that guy? Was it a wrestler back in the day, Lawler?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I wonder if that's his kin. How many players can we sign from the portal since we have like 85, 90 on scholarship? I think Jay had said last week Auburn was around 82, 83.
I think it was 83, and that was before Dawson. So
82. So right now, 3 would be the max to get to 85, according to Jhead's numbers. And listen, nobody has numbers like him. So right now it's 3. But listen, we're expecting. I would be surprised if Auburn doesn't lose 5 more to the portal. I really would. And I don't know what.
At least 3, right? At least 3 more guys, 5 more guys. It seems like we were waiting on some names here, and they're not happening yet. That's why we're sitting here going, okay, if some guys that we feel like are probably going to transfer from Auburn aren't announcing this yet, there's got to be guys elsewhere that are doing the same
Exactly.
thing.
Like, what are you waiting on, Auburn? Like, Auburn's been outdone with spring for a week now. If you're leaving, what's the holdup? Tavares Dawson was the first guy I think anybody reported on Saturday morning when the portal officially opened. It was like, all right, here we go. Tavares Dawson from Auburn in the transfer portal. Yeah. I was like, okay, here we go, man. I was like canceling plans the rest of the day. Hey, I'm not going to be able to do shit today. And then it was like nothing. until like after lunch. Then Muskrat picked up an offer. So it was like Dawson left, nothing. Muskrat offered, nothing. And so, man, I be careful what you wish for, especially in this profession. I'm speaking for me and Cole here, because this next week could be December all over again.
Not that we're wishing for guys to hit the portal. We just were expecting it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We had Justin sent us, a list, and I did not argue with any of those guys.
No.
He had 8 or 10 guys where, hey, and I was like, yeah, I could see every one of those guys looking for a greener pasture. Hayden Harris. All right, good stuff though. Good question. What's the record change between the quarterback room and the right guy out of the portal? What's the record?
So how many wins?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
how many wins would it buy us to get a good quarterback out of the portal?
So right now we've got Auburn. I think everybody's got Auburn 6 or 7 wins with Robbie or TJ or Holden. The right guy, I think, takes Auburn to 8 or 9. 2 wins. 2 wins, Cole? 1 to 2.
I mean, look, I've been honest about Robbie and TJ and Holden, and I don't 6 wins, maybe
6 to 7 with Robbie or TJ.
I just don't
just
know.
Because the schedule's pretty shitty.
Yeah, I mean, you have a better schedule this year. There's some good. I mean, you got a chance to win some easy non-conference games. You got Vandy, Mississippi State. You think might be a little down. I don't know. There's a lot of toss-ups on that schedule. I mean, you could see where Auburn could pull a win out in some of those, but you could also see where they could lose it, and it would make sense. So it just from what I've seen from the quarterback play, I don't feel good about it of what they got right there. So 6 wins is what I would say. If you get, let's go with a possible guy. Let's go Chance Nolan, because he seems to be a logical choice here. I think he could improve you 2 wins from 6. So I'll go 7 to 8 in that range. And I don't think he's a game changer. I think he's an upgrade, small upgrade.
Do you have concerns about the defense? People act like, oh, we're only a quarterback away from competing for the SEC. Like, I don't think so, dude. I think you're a quarterback away from competing for 8 to 9 wins.
Yeah, which
is, I guess.
Yeah, right. So you're a quarterback away from not having another terrible year, which in Auburn standards, 6 wins is a terrible year.
Absolutely.
You're a quarterback away from that. You're not a quarterback away from going to the championship unless it's, Caleb Williams or Joe Burrow or something. And that's probably not going to happen. So defense is my main reason why I say, look, defense is not good enough to put up with shenanigans from the quarterback. It's not. It's not strong enough, man. I'm worried about the defensive front. I think really the strong part of your defense is your secondary, and I'm not sold on the safeties either in that secondary. So linebackers, who knows?
Right.
So I'm a little worried about that side. And you got a new scheme, and I don't know how that scheme's going to work out just yet. I know Roberts has been pretty good at places he's been, but it's a change. So that's where I get worried, because if you don't have good quarterback play, then you're looking at some trouble here. And look, Hugh Freeze knows that, guys. He knows it.
Yeah.
Well, he sat there and watched it all spring, and he was honest with us in the press conference and said, look, I mean, he gave us positions. When he came on inside the 20 with you and Keith, he was like, wide receiver, interior offensive line. He named them. He's being honest. He's going, we got to have more. Got to have more, right? I love that about him, too.
Me too. It would be like Harson would be like, how dare you ask me that? One thing about Jeffrey Emba. Like, where do you think what type of school, TJ, we're gonna get to you, Tyler. Because that's a good question, by the way. But I was surprised to hear this, and I don't know if this is breaking news or not, or scoop or whatever you want to call it, but I've been told by one of our loyal listeners that Jeffrey Emba will be taking an official visit soon. And I'm thinking he's probably going to go back out west somewhere, maybe a Jacksonville State or something, or a smaller school. Do y'all think he's going to go to like ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, or whatever it's called? Dude, he's taking an official visit to Miami.
Oh, wow.
That sounds right to me.
Okay.
I mean, look. What are you really going for in the second portal window? Potential, right?
Sure.
Right, and he's got it.
Yeah.
Got plenty of it. And I mean, you saw it in the 8A game. We've heard about it all spring. It's just like,
Yeah.
put it together, big guy. Put it together, and then you got something. So, I think it was a pretty big loss personally to lose him, especially with the state of the defensive line, and he's a guy that could come in and cause some disruptions. I mean, the one time this was after between coaching staffs when Cadillac had taken over and playing Mississippi State, dude kills the right tackle, gets in there, strips it from the quarterback, makes a huge play. And so he's capable of that kind of stuff, and you've seen it. It's just consistency. That's his problem, and he's learning, and he's still trying to figure out the game of football and his positions. So a place like Miami would absolutely take a shot on that guy. There's no doubt.
And you know what? Put yourself in other schools' fans' position. I know somebody posted on the corner or message board about LSU fans want Jeffrey Emba, and I'm thinking, well, put yourself in their shoes. Let's say LSU signs Jeffrey Emba 2 years ago, the #1 junior college player in the country, and he's just not working out. You don't think Auburn fans will be we'll take a chance on that kid? Oh, hell yes, they would. So
I'll tell you what I've noticed too with the perception. We talk about perception a lot with recruiting about everything. It's a big deal these days. The perception of Auburn players leaving seems to be good.
Mm-hmm.
We Auburn fans and guys like us, we look at a guy like Desmond Tisdale who didn't play at Auburn. He just didn't contribute for whatever reason. I look at some of the portal grades he's gotten or rankings or whatever, that these quick rankings that you put out. I think he's an 84 and 85 when honestly they just kind of slap an 83 on guys sometimes. That's kind of all right, he's an 83. He's
a mid 3-star ranking they give the.
It's like he's come from Auburn, so
former 4-star.
Right. Coming from Auburn, former 4-star, 85, 84, that kind of thing. So the perception of players leaving Auburn seems to be pretty good, and that should tell you, that's a good thing.
Guarantee you next week at this time we're going to be talking a lot more names, who's going in and who's coming out. Probably have some visit news. It is going to pick up really fast. Cole, are you familiar with this Jamal Edrine? Tyler wants to know. Check out the transfer wide receiver from FAU. Could we possibly see Auburn peruse?
Man, I stayed up late last night looking through this portal and looking at every single guy since it was only below 100 at the time last night. So I put together the 5 guys that I think Auburn.
Oh yeah, fantastic stuff.
He was not on there for me just because I like Brendan Thompson from Texas. I think that guy's okay. Back to exactly what we're talking about. Brendan Thompson had 1 catch for 32 yards at Texas. That's what he had, but he's got about 3 years to play. And that one play that I saw in all his 40 times and things like that, he was a top 100 recruit. To me, that's a guy Auburn's going to have to take in the second portal window. That's why I used him. I don't know too much about Edrine or Edron, however you say his name. I took a look at him. It looks like he's a pretty solid player. Probably could help.
Edron.
He would. Hugh, if I'm not mistaken, Hugh recruited him when he was at Liberty.
Okay.
I think that's the connection there. Last year he had a pretty good. I think it was his red shirt freshman season. I mean, 6'3", 210, put up almost 600 yards and 6 touchdowns for FAU last year. He's got a little bit of production, so it'll be an interesting thing to see if they take a chance on him, though.
And see, that's something we should mention, too. In the transfer portal where these kids are going to, typically there's a personal relationship. We talked about Devin Leary earlier. We talked about Jacob Muskrat, the offensive lineman from Tulsa, who has got that personal connection with Philip Montgomery, with Dylan Wade. There's going to be a player they're familiar with. There's going to be a coach that they're familiar with. So that should be mentioned too. Personal relationships in the portal obviously going to play at least some type of factor for most of these kids.
Yeah.
Cole, this has been a hot topic sometimes on the corner. Have you heard anything about Ryan Williams, the 5-star receiver who is committed to Alabama? He is currently a 2025 kid. There has been rumor, there has been speculation, a little conjecture that he might reclassify to 2024. And, I think one of our South Alabama guys, Fredericks 90, who hears a lot of buzz from down the southern part of the state, He has said that it looks, and listen, he apparently knows more than I do, so I don't mind quoting him here. He said it looks more and more likely that Ryan Williams will reclassify to 2024, which I don't know if it's good or bad for Auburn. He's been to Auburn.
I'd say it's not good.
I hear you.
I think you need more time with a guy like that. Yeah.
Listen, this is the same guy that Brian Hartson. This guy was the best wide receiver in the state last year as a 10th grader. I don't think anybody would argue with that. It was, and he shows up at Auburn, and nobody even speaks to him. Hartson walks right past him, doesn't even acknowledge he exists, and that was one of the kids who said, "Dude, they made it easy for me to commit to Alabama. Here's my dad, former Mobile BC Range standout, signed with Auburn back in 2005 or 6, whatever it was. I covered his recruitment, bringing his son up here, and they don't even get spoken to. The head coach just walks by. Man, that's obviously not happening with Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze doing everything he can to change that narrative when it comes to Ryan Williams. I just don't know if that's going to be enough. Listen, he's already committed to Alabama. It's already going to be hard enough. Now you're even farther behind. Put some more water in that for me, big dog. All right, Humana Banana. Human Banana. Oh, man, it sounded better. Humana Banana. Any news on intra-conference spring transfer rule? Here's my Jhead question. Damn it.
It's easy. The SEC.
February 1st.
If you're not in the portal by February 1st, you have to sit out a year unless they change it over the summer, which is probably not going to happen.
So if you're not – so anybody who's entering the portal now cannot transfer in the SEC – any SEC player cannot transfer to another SEC school, thank you, without sitting out.
That's why Imba, I know a lot of people in the chat were talking about possibly Tennessee. He can't go to Tennessee unless he sits out a year.
Correct.
Which would make sense.
Any of those guys can't go SEC.
That's bottom line, right, Zach? Because we've had people arguing about this on the board. Let's just go ahead and say that's you're not going to see any SEC to SEC transfers in the second window.
That's going to be a big debate, though, because wasn't it the Big 12 that had a big debate over Morris going from Oklahoma to TCU, and it was like a huge fight between Lincoln Riley and I think it might have been Gary Patterson at the time, but they had to get a whole waiver signed, and it went like they had to debate the whole rule for that.
Of course, you're going to have people apply for waivers. It's just part of it because people don't love rules these days. So, that's just the rule by the top of the SEC. That's what they wanted to do, and they passed it. And
I think that's fair.
But sure, yeah, you had your chance, right?
Yeah. Hey, if you want to go to another SEC school, that's fine, dude. But you got to do it before spring starts. Also, Human Banana, please tell me your real name is Richard. Oh, W. Murray. What do we have to do to get a top-notch wide receiver out of the portal or out of high school? High school probably be a little bit easier, I think. If I were a top-notch wide, I'd be foaming at the mouth to be the number one target for a school instead of a 2 or 3.
You would think so. But once again, which is what we opened the show with tonight, got to have a product on the field. And receiver is one of those positions where they got to know they're going to get the ball. And actually, I visited Perry Thompson this week in Mobile. I went to his school, had a story on that. And I chatted with him about the A-Day game because he was there. And he was there with Walker White. I said, obviously – how big of a deal is Walker White? He's like, oh, huge. I got a quarterback that's going to be there, that kind of thing. If I were to choose Auburn, I said, okay. What do you know about Auburn's passing game so far? He goes, the coaches are trying to explain it. He said, but I just hadn't seen anything yet. I was like, there it is. There you
go.
And he said, I kind of disappointed A-Day, wanted to see more. He said, not their fault. The weather was the problem. But, I was really upset about the weather on A-Day. I feel like that could have been a nice little chance there, even though your quarterbacks are struggling, to open up the passing game. It doesn't matter if they're struggling. Just show you that you're going to throw it 3 times.
Yeah, take some shots downfield, man. Show these recruits, these wide receivers. Because Jhead, he started the wide receiver train, and we both jumped on there with him.
Yeah.
If Hugh Freeze is going to flip somebody, it's going to be a wide receiver. Probably he should have more success and easier path for recruiting wide receivers just because of his track record at Liberty and at Ole Miss. So it shouldn't come as a. I don't know. Maybe these guys are young. I don't know. Like surely they know the reputation Hugh Freeze has. Hugh Freeze's offense has, and his track record with the NFL. All of that's got to be, maybe that's why they're so intrigued and keep visiting. But they're like, oh, I'm in. That's got me here. So now let me see it for myself, and hasn't been able to do that. Jake Ledbetter, Charleston Collins, Charlie, 4-star from Arkansas commits Friday. Oh, that's probably not a good idea. We have a chance there. I know he's friends with Walker White.
Yeah, as of right now, I say it's not Auburn just because. I think we'd have a better idea if it were. But he was recently at Auburn for A-Day with Walker White. So that's why people are wondering, because he was recently there right before he makes his decision. I do want to catch up with him, and I've been trying to do so. But probably LSU, I'm leaning.
Okay.
He was really high on them when we talked before. And look, this is a guy, I don't mean anything by it toward him, but I don't think the recruitment of him will be over when he commits.
I hear you.
Especially with Walker right there. And, I mean, he was at Walker White's commitment ceremony when he committed to Auburn.
Oh, really?
We're really close, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Hey, I wasn't even aware that Charlie was going to commit Friday, so thanks for the heads up there. D wants to know, is Auburn still pursuing Miles Graham? Yes. Or have they backed off? It's not that I know of. Chance Robinson is off the board. Cole, you had more on Chance Robinson setting up an OB. You still think he –
Yeah, I don't think he's completely off the board. I mean, I kind of had an idea that he was fixing to go to Miami, but he was pretty clear that he had some official visits he wanted to take, and I still think those were on based on who I've talked to. I'm going to check back with Chance on that when he's, come down a little bit from committing. So as of right now, I still think he's wanting to take those OVs. Whether he does or not could be a different story. Miami may not want that. So that's kind of one we'll have to play by ear. But I think Auburn's not going to stop recruiting him because they really like him.
TJ Moore, the 4-star from Tampa Catholic. Keith, one of the few things he left us with was Auburn would be at their first practice on April the 24th. That's going to be the evaluation period. Marcus Davis will be there in person to see TJ Moore, to meet with Jarris McIntyre, the head coach at Tampa Catholic. So I don't know that Auburn could turn the heat up more on TJ Moore because they're already pretty hot and heavy over him. So I don't think it's I don't think they're relative. Let's put it that way. As far as Miles Graham, my gosh, man, Florida's struggling, and that's going to be let me see what Florida looks like midway through the season, because this kid's from Atlanta. I know his father played at Florida. He's an Auburn Florida legacy. But Auburn was recruiting this kid fairly well last year with Harsin and those guys. So he's been to Auburn several times. I think he's going to be somebody to keep an eye on, especially if Florida tanks, which a lot of people think is a good possibility, including Keith. No, I'm just kidding. W. Murray's back. He wants to know, Bruce lost Peyton Marshall. Forgot about that. Sure did. Peyton Marshall, the 4-star center from Atlanta. Decommitted. I just got a text message from Jessica saying Brooks broke a kid's arm. Awesome. He did. Yeah. Yeah. Good job, big dog. Brooks, you broke that kid's arm. You broke that kid's arm. Yeah, he's in a cast. Yeah. It was roughhousing last night. They was having a little camp out. It was roughhousing. This kid jumped on Jessica's boy, and Brooks went over there, get him off, and I don't know, freaking suplexed his ass or something. I don't know, but he broke his damn arm. To get that insurance card out. All right, W. Murray. He lost. Peyton Marshall decommitted from Auburn due to the loss of Wes Flanagan to Ole Miss. We're going to lose Holloway to Aiden Holloway. No, he's already signed, so he's not. That's not an option for Aiden Holloway. The better question would be LeBaron Philon, who was a big Wes Flanagan recruit from your neck of the woods there, Zach. Stud Gatorade Player of the Year.
That'd be a major loss if he decommits and goes elsewhere.
He would be the one, but I've checked, man, and he is locked in with Auburn. Bruce Pearl is taking over his recruitment. Tahad Pettiford is another 2024, but that's Ira Bowman's neck of the woods. So from what I've been told, those two guys are locked in. Aiden Holloway has signed, so I don't think we're expecting any more attrition from that 2024 class. Now that Peyton Marshall's decommitted, might not be a bad thing because Auburn really wants Flory Badunga. And Auburn really, really wants him. So, might not be a bad thing. Michael Pinkston. Cole, here's your one. What are the odds of a quarterback rotation?
Flashbacks to that Clemson, 2016, where we played 3 quarterbacks, and then Chandler Cox took snaps at quarterback 2.
Oh, Zach, no. Don't go there.
You're
talking about the
really
Cox cat?
Yeah.
The pirouette. Yeah, when he did a little ballerina dance and threw an interception or something. I don't know what. There's nothing on Chandler. He was only doing what he was told.
Oh, boy.
But do you think that's even an option here? Do you think? Oh gosh, I don't. Man.
I'd have to see it from Hugh. I think better of him than that.
Okay. Here's the only possibility I could see. Bringing in and wanting to give Robbie a package or something at the goal line, or, we're going to run a play, which we used to call it 18 or 17. The one back takes it to the 8 hole, or the one back takes it to the 7 hole.
Right.
That's the only thing I could even think about.
Is that considered a QB rotation though? Because even when Tebow was at Florida,
you're right.
Him in for goal line, so I don't know if that would even be considered a rotation.
You're right.
He means
no way.
You got to give this guy a drive. The other guy gets a drive later in the game. I just can't see that.
No.
I haven't.
You don't want that. You don't want that.
Has that ever worked?
Yes, but it's one of those things.
Was it Jalen and Tua? Did that work? Who the hell has it ever worked for?
Would you call Chris Leak?
Yeah, Chris Leak and Tebow was kind of a QB rotation.
It's so frustrating to watch, man.
You've seen it happen several places. It's only really worked maybe twice, right?
It works at the FCS level because Sacramento State almost went to the national title this year with 2 quarterbacks.
Dang.
It's not the way to do it. And if you look back at the Liberty team last year, he had several quarterbacks, but a lot of that was due to injury.
Yeah.
It was not his choice. And I'll tell you what, all those guys played well too, even the freshmen.
Let's don't even talk about that, Michael. Let's just act like that didn't happen. Dennis Irvin wants to know, what would it take to reel in Joseph Phillips? It's a good question, Dennis. Cole, you went and had he named a top 5, but we've been told, and I don't think this is any surprise to anybody, but it's Auburn or Georgia, and I think you said Clemson was kind of hanging in there as well.
Yeah. I'd say Auburn, Georgia is
Auburn, Georgia. There's your statement, Dennis. We was talking about listing all those guys. There's your statement win, beating Georgia for a linebacker.
Sure would.
So I think Auburn just has to keep on with Joseph.
Yeah,
with Joe. I know it's Joe.
What's his quote, Jeffrey? I think he said it to you now too. It's like having a girlfriend.
That's right.
But she wants you too.
Yeah, she wants you just as much as you want her.
It just makes you want her more. That's what he said.
Yeah. Cole, are we looking for one more offensive lineman in the portal? At least.
Yeah, at least they're hog bone.
Hog.
I think Jaden Muskrat's not the only offensive lineman you're going to see offered, and that doesn't mean they're going to tweet it out. I mean, there's games that go on with that too, so don't hang on that. But yeah, I think I just feel like they can get Muskrat, and then they can look and see what else is there. And we've named the guys that we think could be possibilities. So, yeah, I think 1 to 2.
You think Muskrat's more of a depth piece, and then Prognon and Etienne potential starters?
He's interesting to me because I've only seen him play right tackle, and we don't think he's a right tackle at Auburn. We think he's a guard, and he struggled really bad in pass blocking. And I watched the entire Ole Miss game last night, every snap of his on offense. I like him. I think he's a good run blocker. I think he's pretty athletic. I think he could be a good guard. maybe he's a starting guard on this team. Or if not, he's sort of that next guy up, and he's still got some years, right? That's the other good thing about him. So, yeah, I think it would be a nice pickup to get him. Definitely need another guy like that that could help you out.
Yeah, I do too. I think at least 2.
At least seems like.
Kelsey Gardner wants to know, do you think Auburn gets at least one of Perry Thompson or Cam Coleman? Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman, one of those two. Man. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
Emphatically, yes, I do. I think Auburn gets at least one of those.
I do too.
Right now, the money would be on Cam Coleman. Shit, man, don't put me. Yeah,
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not. All right. Yeah, I do. I do think Auburn. I think we all do.
No, I think both are realistic options, but my money's on Cam as well.
There you go.
You could tell Jeffrey's been on the Auburn beat for too long, man. He has like that PTSD. He went to say it, and everything in his beam was like, "Don't do it."
No,
I haven't been.
they're gonna get him. They're gonna get him. No.
Look, I just had a one-on-one conversation with him. I've tried to put as much on the board and in his story as I could about how that went, and talking to everybody around him. Nobody seems to know what he's going to do. And to me, that says you got his attention. You really got his attention if you're Auburn. Because, I mean, wouldn't they know, like, oh, yeah, well, he likes Auburn, but, Bama's the school. I feel like somebody would have said that.
Yeah.
I think somebody even said to me, like, I'll find out when you do, man. That kind of thing.
That's probably the most honest thing somebody's told you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't think, these people are message board. Oh, he's going to. I don't believe that. You don't believe that. Listen, we get messages all the time on the back end saying, "Oh, he's going to flip this weekend. Oh, he's going to do it Saturday." Dude, no, stop.
It's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen like that. Okay, that's why I said with Ryan Williams earlier, if he were to reclassify, I don't think that's a good thing for Auburn. It may not matter, but I don't think it's a great thing because you need time with these guys. They need to see your product on the field. They need to know, especially receivers, oh, he's going to throw it to me. Oh, they're going to have a quarterback to be able to do it. Because if this portal window goes like you want it to, first of all, you got Walker White coming in next year for all these guys, right? That's huge. But there's also a chance that you can find a quarterback out there that's sort of young and goes ahead and wins this battle and shows, oh, wait a minute, they got 2 quarterbacks that can play instead of everybody's a question mark. Nope. Got a Walker White, and you got a guy that just showed you, he can lead Auburn and do some big things on offense, which is the ideal situation, of course, and we'll see if that plays out, but that's obviously what they're banking on.
Man, it's going to be fun. We called up Zach.
We got about 5 questions left. We'll hit them real quick.
Lightning round. Had some good stuff tonight, man. A lot of stuff going on.
Oh yeah,
a lot of stuff going on, and it's only going to get better, man. This you got the basketball transfer portal, football transfer portal, visits coming in, commitments, decommitments. Hell, we've had all of it in the past week. OC Webb, in your opinion, is top 8 nationally and top 4 SEC finish possible with the 2024 class? Dude, Auburn's 13 in the country right now. I actually think they fell to 14 with the addition of Martavius Collins because his ranking. They did. They fell one spot with Martavius Collins. But that was good enough. 13th in the country is good enough for 7th in the SEC and 4th in the West. And do you know who's got a top 5 class right now?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Have you seen their offensive line class?
Yes. Was it Pringle,
yes.
and Thompson? Or the 2 offensive tackles? They're both studs, too.
Didn't they get Blake Franks, too?
Yes.
Yeah.
They have 3 stud offensive, I think, tackles. I don't know if they're guard in there or not. Dude, I'm speechless.
They got to hold.
How does South Carolina have 3 of the top offensive linemen, 2 of which are definitely tackles in the country, committed?
Don't forget they pulled another, Jadavion Clowney last year with Nicholas Harbor.
And y'all, used to could, oh man, they're paying them. Well, yeah, they're paying them.
Absolutely.
But Auburn can pay them too.
You know what's crazy? On 3, I was because I did a rankings article today. South Carolina's average NIL is under 100K compared to some of the teams behind. Like some of the teams behind them, Auburn's average NIL is 113K. Which is just, it's weird. I don't know exactly how it works, but for Florida and South Carolina to have top 4 classes in the SEC, top 5 nationally, with how Florida struggled last year, is crazy to me.
Wow. But yeah, it's top 8 nationally.
You got to finish with all those guys too. We still got a long.
It's possible. It's possible. It's possible.
Well, I think the good thing with Auburn being sort of high in the rankings right now is because when they were number 13, you only had 4 guys, and they were all 4 stars, and that's why your average star rating's high. So if we look at the board and Auburn lands a lot of these guys that we think they're going to land, well,
you've got 5 commitments right now, 4 of whom are not statement recruits. You got about 15 more left to go. That'd make it 20. Jhead's our numbers guy, but we'll just say that on average. Man, the majority of those are going to have to be big dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have majority of them are going to have to be statement recruits to have that top 10 finish. Knox Romeo, Kevin Riley update. He was one of my statement wins. He came to A-Day. Cole, did you talk to him or did I? I remember I talked to him and his father, but he was at A-Day. Sounds like Auburn, Alabama. I think there was A&M.
Maybe A&M or, Tennessee, A&M, something like that.
There were some other good schools in there, but it sounds like it's going to be an in-state battle for him, depending on I honestly don't know how hard Alabama is pushing for him. They've got the number 1 running back in the country. I think he was just there. Maybe that was a 2025 guy I noticed. But Auburn's definitely in the top 2 for him, and it's going to be a battle for him. Eric May wants to know, Bronson Barron. Heard this name before.
All right, Zach.
He's good. Listen, he won a conference championship as a true freshman during the COVID season in the Big Sky, was a Jerry Rice Award finalist. I think he's top 10 all time in passing and career total yards at Weber. They had a coaching change. Mickey Mental stepped in. Their head coach I want to say he took the BYU offensive coordinator job this offseason. So he went and looked for greener pastures. I will say he's solid. He's a solid quarterback. He's athletic. He's got a good arm. Not very like our thing at Auburn. We don't have any guys. We have a bunch of guys who have completion percentage problems. He's another guy like that.
Oh, okay.
He's not going to complete 65. He completed, I think, about 59% of his passes last year. He's a gunslinger, likes to get out of the pocket, do his own thing. And also think he's never finished top 5 in the Big Sky in passing yards in a season. Yeah. He's just a guy who's going to be kind of a game manager type guy. I will say, I know some Weber State fans, they think he cost them some games last season where he just didn't show up. He did play really well last season in 2021 against Utah to open the year, had about 230, a touchdown, but he threw a big pick, and man, he's just kind of hit or miss sometimes. I don't know if he's the solution to our problem.
You know who he sounds like, Zach? Bo Nix.
Oh.
He's 6'3", about 215, 220 too.
Would those fans be disappointed if he were to leave Weber State?
They were a little disappointed just because they had a lot of question marks surrounding the quarterback.
Oh, he's already
in the portal.
Okay.
He left already. But yeah, he's an option, I guess. But I just don't know. I don't know when he comes into Auburn. I don't know if he elevates that win total for me, unless he takes like a Hendon Hooker step forward. Like, because Hendon Hooker was not the quarterback he was at Tennessee, at Virginia Tech. He's going to have to take that type of leap for Auburn fans to be satisfied, I think, with that transfer.
Good stuff.
Yeah, excellent.
The guy who draws what he likes. Do you guys have a favorite player Auburn is recruiting currently? Probably got a couple of them.
Depends on how you define favorite. If we're talking about,
I think he thinks like the best, like who is like your top prospect on Auburn's board right now.
Oh, Man, mine would have been personal reasons and personality and kindness to reporters and willingness to answer phones and call back and text back. And that would
I have a couple of those.
Yeah, me too. There's some good dudes in this class. As far as our favorite player Auburn's currently recruiting, for me, it's Cam Coleman. Like,
yeah,
I mean, that's to me that is a must get for Auburn. If you let him go elsewhere, the narrative hasn't changed. And that's what Hugh Freeze has to do at Auburn. He has to change the narrative. He talks about it all the time, flipping the script. Well, if you want to flip the script, Cole wants you to do it on the field first. That's what Hugh Freeze was mentioning. But you also going to have to flip the script in the living room, and that's gonna entail getting guys like Cam Coleman. He doesn't get away. He doesn't get away.
Cam's the guy you don't let get away. I say Joseph Phillips is the other guy.
Me too. Offense and defensive player. Offense is Cam Coleman. Defense is Joe Phillips. Those two guys sign with Auburn, or you haven't flipped the script.
Mm-hmm.
M. Jones, a nice little bass he's got in there. Who's going to be the wide receiver to step up and take the leadership role this season? I think we're already seeing it, and I know he's my personal favorite, but Camden Brown is that guy, and we've heard it in practice. He's the guy. He's going to be. You have another. You have an alternate. Excuse me.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Edward from Selma who didn't call us tonight.
Oh, Kid Country.
This is a guy he's been talking about.
Oh yeah, Jay Fair.
I've heard good things, man.
Okay.
They took a shot at him in the 8A game. They wanted to. They had to get one shot at him. He was triple covered. You might have remembered that throw from TJ.
Oh yeah.
And dude he got interfered with, and he started celebrating. And that's the kind of guy I think he is. He's the kind of guy that you start tugging at his jersey because he's getting by you before you know it. Another sort of similar player to Javarius Johnson, but I've heard, that he's maybe a little more dynamic. So,
okay,
my pick.
Man, what a great show, folks. What a fantastic show. I was not expecting that. We had some really good calls, man, with some really good questions and comments. Eric got us started, the old mass hole. Is that what he called himself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Massachusetts a-hole.
Okay. The asshole from asshole. How about phone calling in?
That's my boy.
Big dog phone calling in. Gracie calling in from Birmingham has some really good questions there. Anthony from Montgomery, Jhead was coming in. Chris from Clear had a fantastic question. Ford brought up some really good stuff, man. JR also. And then all the questions and comments. We appreciate everybody, man. Hey, we appreciate everybody. But before we go, I want to say, give Caleb Schofield a call. Please do.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good. Keith will back me up on that. Really good, dude. He have the house. If he doesn't have the house, if she doesn't have the house, if Caleb doesn't have the car you want, he'll find it, man, and have it delivered to your house. He's really good. 334-531-0996. Caleb Schofield there with Mike Patton Auto in LaGrange, Georgia. Folks, we're going to be back either Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday with the recruiting show. We'll be back again next Sunday for the call-in show. And we're going to have a lot of news coming out this week. If you're not a member to Auburn Live on 3, now is a perfect opportunity to jump on that. As I said, basketball transfer portal is going crazy. Football transfer portal is about to go crazy. We hope not. I don't know. Commitments we've seen decommitments. We're going to see a new coach being hired by Bruce Pearl. A lot of stuff going on. The quarterback is going to get interesting. The quarterback position is going to get interesting with the transfer portal. So, we'll leave y'all there, man. I hope y'all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see y'all back Thursday. For Cole, for Zach in the back who came to the front, for Jhead who's on baby duty, and Keith who's down in the Gator country. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. Y'all stay that left lane. See you.